In this video, you are going to get a beginner's guide to the essential software tools as well as just great strategy and best practices for just boosting your church's online presence. And this is especially important given today's situation with our churches not being able to meet regularly together in our local church buildings. We need to make sure that we have the right tools and platforms in place to be able to reach and communicate with our congregants clearly and just be involved in helping them continue to grow in their spiritual lives. So I am joined with a very special guest here on Zoom, Brady Shearer, located up in Niagara Falls, Ontario. And Brady is the founder of Pro Church Tools. Make sure the first action item I want to give you guys, make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel and follow all their content. Because, Brady, what's the saying that you guys have there at Pro Church Tools about like what you're up to and your mission is?
Helping churches navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years.
Yep. And it's seizing the 167. What does that mean?
That's right. So 168 hours each week. Let's say Sunday service is 1 hour. That means there's still 167 beyond that where we can reach our people. And look, let's be clear. The 1 hour service, that's what you want to listen to Jake for, right? He's going to help you with the live stream, making that sound excellent. But then there are 167 hours beyond that. You could say that our channel is 167 times more important for your church than Churchfront. You could say that. I wouldn't. Someone would say that.
You could say that. We could get into theological argument about the functions of church and how worship plays in that function and how important that 1 hour is, right? But this video, maybe that's for another video. This video is, I just want you, Brady, to come alongside those who are feeling overwhelmed right now, especially if maybe their church hasn't done a good job at really leveraging online platforms for communicating with their congregation. I think one of the upsides of this tragic event going on right now, the silver lining, so to speak, is that I think a lot of churches are going to come out of this stronger, especially from I think spiritually stronger, and there's different ways we'll come out stronger, but even technologically and digitally stronger. I know that's I'm experiencing that for our church at Mission Lakewood. So for those who are kind of struggling just navigating all the different tools out there, and maybe they've heard a lot of things they should get, they go into Facebook groups and ask, hey, what software tool should I get to connect with my congregation? What social platform should we be on? And then they get like 50 different responses, and it's just overwhelming and not very helpful. I want to just ask you some questions just generally about these different tools and strategies for churches, just kind of provide a clear roadmap for the folks who are watching this on YouTube, or maybe we'll be publishing this on our podcast as well, people listening in. Let's just provide a clear roadmap for like if you're really trying to have the right infrastructure in place to shepherd your congregation online, here are the right tools, and then here are strategically what you can do with those tools to really make a big difference and make some progress in these areas. Does that sound good, Brady?
Let's do it.
Cool, man. So I guess my first big question is what are the essential software tools that every church needs to have in place in order to really facilitate clear communication and to be able to engage with their congregation throughout the whole week? Like, what are some of those tools? Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? If we could only pick one online tool, what would it be?
That would have to be your website. Because that would be the platform and property that you as the church have ownership for. Generally, when we talk about a software stack, the tools needed that come into the world of digital, we talk about three categories. There's the platforms that you own, so that would be your website and online giving. And then there are the external tools, that being social, email list. And then there are the internal tools, so how you're talking with the people on your team, the people on your staff. So those would be tools like Zoom is especially useful right now. We're using that currently to record this. That might be Slack, Basecamp, Notion, Trello, those type of platforms. So those are the three kind of categories. Each has their own unique purpose and their own audience that they're trying to reach and connect to also.
What would be some good practices right now for your website as a church in terms of the layout of it to make sure people know what's going on? Because I think a lot of churches are having to rethink this right now. Usually you have maybe like a plan to visit page or something like that. What what trends have you seen lately as people are kind of adjusting for the current situation, and maybe doing online only church? Yeah, what have you seen that's been done well in terms of just kind of formatting your website in a way that's easy to navigate and clear for your congregation?
Well, one of the biggest reasons why people have been heading to their church's websites right now is to get the most up-to-date information on the coronavirus and COVID-19 and what that means for in-person services. Looking forward a few weeks at the time of this recording, what that means for Easter experiences. And so one of the most useful things that you can have as a church with your website right now is a single page that has a list of all of the coronavirus updates and activity, need to know information for your congregation. What we don't like to do is to flood our social platforms with content pertaining to updates and just general boring information. So what you need is a website where people can go to and reliably expect to find the information that they need. We've been seeing a lot of churches introduce kind of sticky banners at the top of their websites, maybe a bright red color, bright green, bright yellow, that has like, hey, here's all the information you need for COVID-19. And that's a sticky header that a person can X out of if they don't want to see it anymore. But when you land on the site, no matter what page you go to, it's going to be there. And then, I mean, philosophically, when it comes to your website, and this COVID-19 crisis is really making this clear for a lot of people, you need the type of website that is very easy to update, that's dynamic and adaptable on the fly. What we see with a lot of churches is they have what we call yellow page websites. So they're essentially like digital yellow page listings that have information, but it's quite static. And so when something needs to be changed on the fly like this, it becomes very cumbersome. Maybe there's no one on staff that actually can get into the back end of the website and make the updates needed. And so from a design perspective, what we love are card-based websites. North Point just launched their new web platform for all of their different campuses, and it's following this card-based model. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to the YouTube homepage, go to Jake's channel page, Churchfront, go to Pro Church Tools on YouTube. You'll see card-based design. We're at missionlakewood.com with Jake's website using our Nucleus website builder, card-based design. This is especially useful when it comes to making adjustments on the fly. If you look at the top of Jake's website, you'll see Watch at Home. That's the featured card on the homepage. You can move around a card-based design and change the featured card based on what's needed. So maybe Sunday morning, you need a different featured card than you do on Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. And that's where card-based design is especially useful. And then when it comes to the different devices, that introduces its own new set of challenges. I mean, you can access a website on an Apple Watch. It's like 36 pixels by 32. The new iPad that dropped with its aspect ratio. You can watch, I have right next to me, an iMac. It's 27 inches. This is a 15-inch MacBook Pro that I'm recording this on. And so you need a website that can expand and adapt to all these different screen resolutions. And what we're seeing, this is kind of looking forward the next 12 to 24 months, I would say, Jake, if you want to get into a bit of like forecasting for web design. Mm-hmm. It used to be that when you would mock up a website, you'd have like, this is what it's going to look like on desktop, and this is what it's going to look like on mobile. And, you know, you'd get the mock-up and you'd see, all right, if a phone, it's going to look like this, a desktop, it'll look like this. Well, now with the myriad of different devices from different manufacturers, tablets, mobile, watch, laptop, desktop, you now have like 18, 27, 132 different resolutions you need to account for. And what we love about card-based design is that it can adapt to any single different resolution. And the cards can go wide, they can go thin, they can scroll up, they can scroll horizontally. And we think it's the most adaptive type of web design. You know, we use Nucleus because that's the web design builder that we constructed. But there are so many different platforms that can do that. And we think it's the best way forward when it comes to adaptability, being dynamic, and then also considering all the different aspect ratios and device sizes.
Yeah, I think the great thing is if for churches out there who have what Brady explained as a yellow pages church website, and I see them a lot. We get in contact with lots of worship leaders who apply to join our program, and I always like to look at their website, and I see a lot of church websites every day, and I'm sorry, folks. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of you guys' websites who need a lot of work. The good news is it's like easier than ever to build an amazing site. I'm biased. Brady's obviously a little bit biased about Nucleus and their platform that they've got going here. But it's really, this is like, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, Brady, but this is like the only website builder that has been, I feel, I mean, there's other website builders out there for churches, but I don't know. I feel like the way you guys have built this, you've got customers who are in the trenches trying to resource churches online, and you're taking their feedback and then just making this better and better. And like that's what we have here. There are great website builders like Squarespace or Wix or things like that. The thing is, those are kind of website builders for like all sorts of organizations and businesses. But what you guys have been doing with this, especially with like the way you can have the sermon engine and all that stuff, it's been awesome. So if you're watching this, you guys just don't have a good website and you want to get up and running with a really nice one quickly, definitely check out nucleus.church for the resource.
We should say that like Jake pays full price for his website as far as I know, and he's not getting any affiliate sales on this because we don't do partnerships in that way. So
I would like to get an affiliate cut, but we don't.
You'd
we
love
don't have
that, right?
We don't have that set up at all. But yeah, no, because guys, and the thing is too, like, you know, and just to be completely transparent, like when I invited Brady to have this conversation about different software tools, he's like, well, I just don't want it to be an ad for all of my tools. I'm like, dude, people need these tools. Like, and what you guys have is so accessible for so many churches. It's user friendly. So check it out. You guys even have like, it's a free trial set up too, right? So you can basically
it's 30 days no credit card with all of our platforms, and so we try to make it as low risk as possible. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see some of our favorite nuclei. So I don't know if you want to bring those up right now, but lifeabundant.info is one of our favorites. This is Alex's.
Okay, so go ahead and talk about that.
Right. So you've got the announcement bar at the top in the big yellow. So that is right now being used as like a join us live. As it gets closer to different days, Alex might change that to be, it is coronavirus related. And so we think that's really nice because you can change that information. Oh, look, there's Alex's face. And then he's got Drift, which is a live chat tool. It's not ours, but he's got that integrated in the bottom right, so you can live chat there. And then he's got his online giving on the left using the giving flow trigger, which is nice. And this is like a monochromatic color scheme, which we think is really nice on web design. So like if you are watching this and no matter what web platform that you're using, maybe you don't consider yourself an expert designer, what's a great color scheme that you can lean into is pick like a dark mode, pick a light mode similar to, an app or, Jake's using dark mode on his Chrome right now. Go with that. And then just choose a single color. So for Alex, it's this kind of like seafoam, cyan, teal, single color. And you won't find basically any other color on the website except that single greenish one, and then different shades of gray, black, and white. It's very elegant, and it's extremely easy to accomplish. So you'll look good, and you won't even have to know too much to make it happen.
Yep. So while we're on Alex's site here, this is kind of a good segue to the other aspects of software infrastructure I wanted to chat about with you. The next one is just giving online. Like I can't think of a more important time to make sure your church has online giving set up than right now, March of 2020. So when people come to you and be like, Brady, how do I get going with online giving? Like what's all entailed? What does that process look like?
Right. So we have our own platform. It's called RebelGive. Think the Rebel Alliance, Star Wars. No matter which giving platform you end up using online, whether it be us or someone else, this is what our giving flow looks like. There are a couple of things that you need to be looking out for. The biggest one is the fee structure that your digital giving provider is going to offer you. And the reason why that's so important is because the way that online giving works, and it's unique compared to pretty much any other platform. For instance, with Nucleus, you'll pay a fixed rate every single month. With giving providers, sometimes they'll set you up with a free monthly account. And then what they'll do is they'll just take a bit of every single gift you process and keep it for themselves. And this is tremendously difficult to pick up on if you're not aware of what's happening. So with digital giving, every time you pay for something, donate to something, whether that just be at the convenience store, whether that be at the grocery store, or whether it be giving to your church, when it's done digitally, there are processing fees that need to be covered. And these fees are important so that scams don't happen, your data is secure, and everything gets processed and routed the way that it should. Now, church giving companies aren't the ones that do that processing. There are these big conglomerate companies like First Data or Stripe, and these are the same companies that make the portals when you're in person and you insert your card or you tap your card. They make that hardware as well. Those fees are inescapable. They're usually about 2%. Then what happens is giving companies will inflate those fees an extra 1%, an extra 1.5%, and they then inflate the processing fee to keep it for themselves. So let's say you gave $1,000 to your church every single year. $20 of that would go towards processing fees, and then the giving company would keep $10 to $20 for themselves on top of that as well. And when you're looking at small quantities, it doesn't seem so much of a big deal. But the more that people give in volume, the crazier it becomes. Here's an example. This past weekend, we had a pretty sizable gift come through one of our churches using RebelGive. So I wake up Monday morning, and our product director had sent a screenshot of a chat with this person. They're like, whoa, what an amazing thing. We had a $42,000 gift come through our bank account this weekend, through bank account giving, using RebelGive. And because we use RebelGive, we got to keep all 42,000 of that. And the giver, they didn't have to pay anything either. And if that was done through any other giving company, most church giving companies charge 1% on bank account giving, which is different than credit card giving. So they charge that 1% because it's profitable. So a giving company would keep $420 of that gift for themselves just because you got to use their online form. And this type of pricing is so different than a website. Like imagine if every time someone visited your website, I got to keep like 10 cents of it. That was the pricing. That would kind of be weird. It's like the more people that visit the site, like the more money you make. Like that's no good. And with giving, like look, we do online giving for a living. There isn't much infrastructure that's different between you giving $1,000, you giving $1, you giving $100,000. It's all the same. The processors, they're going to keep whatever they keep. For us, it's all the same. So we don't think that we should get to keep your money just because we're offering you a giving form. So with RebelGive, that's what's unique about us. We're the only online giving provider that has free bank account giving, free ACH giving. And you might be wondering, like, don't most people give with their credit card? Not with RebelGive. With RebelGive, 65% of all giving is done via people's bank accounts, which means there are no processing fees with that. The big processors don't get it. We don't keep any for ourselves. It costs your church nothing. It costs the giver nothing. And one of the reasons why we think bank account giving is so high is because with credit card giving on our platform, we've put the responsibility of that 2% processing fee on them. So again, we're not keeping any for ourselves. We're not inflating that fee to keep more than is needed. That 2% is charged from the processor directly, but we make that the responsibility of the giver. So if Jake goes to church, he wants to give $100 this weekend. He's going to see, okay, once he gets to the end of the RebelGive giving flow, it's going to cost him $101.90. It's 1.9%. That $1.90 goes directly to the processor, and we explain that to Jake as he's giving. So that way we show him, okay, just so you know, this is why it's happening. We're not keeping this for ourselves. And just so you know, churches are losing so much of this money every single month. But then if Jake doesn't want to pay the fee, because we don't think he should have to, we give him the option. By the way, if you want to give with your bank account, you don't have to pay any fee whatsoever. And then that way no one pays the fee. And so that's what we're doing with RebelGive. It's saving churches hundreds of thousands of dollars that we could have been keeping for ourselves, but we're deciding not to, which is great. So, if you use us or whoever you go with, just look at the fees. A lot of giving companies will say, hey, our thing is free. You won't have to pay anything at all. And then every time someone gives, they take a bit for themselves, which we think is a bit, sinister, perhaps. Dude,
so because for you guys to be able to obviously fund this software to make it grow and keep making it better, your whole Nucleus platform, and I haven't kept up to speed with this that well, but in terms of pricing wise, everything's just one monthly or annual price, and that's it?
Yeah, if you pay monthly, it's $125 a month. If you pay annually, it's $99 a month, and it's billed all at once for the year. So you get to save that way. So that's your web, your sermon engine, unlimited stock footage, and daily done for you social posts.
Yeah, man. I can't I can't imagine especially some of the larger churches that out there how much when you start doing the math, how many larger donations come in, how much that extra 2% adds up.
Yeah,
Talking thousands.
the bigger you are, the more that 2% makes a difference. But even for smaller churches, like especially right now, this weekend we saw a 20% increase in giving volume across RebelGive, adjusted for the number of churches on the platform. So in 1 week, online giving went up 20%. Right now, on average, about 50% of church giving is with credit card or digital payments via like bank account. That's only going to go up. So no matter what size of church that you are, the more people move from checks and cash gifts to digital gifts. Let's say Jake's giving $1,000 every single month to his church, but then he decides one day to move to digital. Well, now $30 every single month of that gift is no longer being to the church. They don't get to keep that anymore. So then over the course of a year, that's maybe $350. And that's just one giving family. Then you move a bunch over. And so like every time someone changes the way that they give, because it's so much more convenient to give with your card or to give with recurring giving, you set it up, you forget it, you never think about it again. It's so much easier to do that than, let's say, to go to the bank and take out cash every week, that more people are moving in that direction, especially when it comes to millennials aging up and getting closer to 40. And so this is only going to become more of a problem for churches, no matter how big or small that you are. So you have to account for it. A lot of us are being forced to account for it, no pun intended, now with the whole crisis that we're experiencing. But even after this, it's still going to be something to consider.
Our church, Mission Lakewood, we're using Planning Center because we started using their giving service before you guys rolled out RebelGive. And I think I mentioned it to our pastor about just using RebelGive. What do you do when you have an existing giving service or software and you just want to change over to something new? Do you just like keep the reoccurring subscriptions active on the old one and then just all new people would start on the new platform? Or how have churches navigated that?
Let me just say one thing about Planning Center giving. They are the absolute best of all the other giving platforms. They're the only ones that I'm aware of that don't keep any money for themselves. Our rates are still cheaper. We're the only ones that do free ACH, and our percentage gifts are still about 1% cheaper, but they don't keep any for themselves. So I highly respect them for that. Every other giving platform inflates fees to keep money for themselves. When it comes to switching over, it's usually not a good idea long-term to maintain two different giving platforms.
Yeah.
And so you can lean into kind of a slow transition. I generally like to promote kind of like a 30-day switchover where you turn it into a campaign. And you can even have certain incentives like, every person that switches over recurring giving will be entered into, a prize for a $100, gift card to the local, Mexican joint that everybody loves. And that way you can kind of turn it into a campaign to speed up the changeover process. One of the reasons that churches don't change over giving, don't even start online giving, is because it's so hard. It's such a cumbersome process. It requires usually so much administrative work. And it's like one of those things where you're like, yeah, there are benefits, but like the pain of switching is still worse than the benefits that I would get. And so then churches just don't generally switch over, which is one of the reasons why giving platforms are so profitable on the actual like side of these companies. Hundreds of millions of dollars in venture capital funding is being poured into online giving companies right now, because the average amount of money that a church that uses PushPay is like earning is more than $1,000. Like more than $1,000 per month is what the average church is paying to PushPay. So if you're an investor, who cares if it's churches? Like we need every single one of us to like pour money into these platforms because they are ridiculously profitable. So we can charge 1/10 the price of that in the monthly fee that RebelGive is, and that is like a healthy profit margin for a software company. But if churches are willing with their wallets and saying, "Yeah, okay, we'll spend this much on online giving forms," I mean, what's the reason for a giving platform to change? So we've kind of come in, we've used this rebellious name because we're trying to rebel against the status quo and trying to shake it up a bit, educate churches on what they're actually paying and how much the true costs are. Because you don't notice it because there isn't an invoice that you get. You just get a tiny bit scraped off the top of each gift. And 1% doesn't seem like much until you look at the aggregate and it's more than $1,000 per month for the average church.
Yeah. Fees are insane, man.
Fees suck.
I've been seeing this like just as Churchfront's a business and like people pay for courses and stuff, and like it is shocking sometimes how much even just Stripe and the payment processors get at the end of the day. It just
our
adds
accountant
up.
hit us up last month. He's like, "Oh yeah, here's like your regular things, and here's how much you're paying to fees." I was like, "Wait, that's the fees one?" Because it wasn't labeled fees. Now, of course, for us, it's like, okay, we know that's just what running an online business means. You know, if you're a convenience store, you account for those costs, you build it into your products. But if you're a nonprofit, you're a church, you're just the ones that have to be like, you know, slave to those fees the worst.
Yep. Well, that was super helpful around the giving topic. And I think, you know, making the switch, it's one of those deals where like people who are hesitant to switch, especially if they're on a platform with really high fees right now, it's like you're just kind of sacrificing long-term reward for kind of short-term comfort. And it's like, I don't think it's as complicated as people would think, as people expect to like run a 30-day campaign or maybe extend it a bit longer. Like, hey, like why not just give people a call, you know, in your congregation who are on the old platform and be like, and help walk them through the process of getting set up on the new platform. I don't know. Cause in the long term, we're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, over years and decades of fees. So
absolutely.
And that money could be going to lots of other things, of like, you know, helping the community out or hiring more staff at the church or stuff like that. So cool. I feel like we got a pretty good, really roadmap here for the giving app platform. The thing another thing that Alex's website reminded me of was email. Like I saw a little email form pop up on the website. In 2020, how important is your email list as a church, Brady?
I mean, I still think it's probably more important, assuming that it's active, than any other social platform that exists. And that's because every single one of us has email. Most of us have Facebook, but not everyone. You know, one of the biggest questions we've gotten from churches during this crisis is, well, how do we connect with our older individuals? And Alex's church is a great example. They're a church of about, 80 to 100, rural Canada, mostly older folks. And so his email list is the number one communication tool they use. Not Facebook, not Instagram. They use both for like certain demographics within their church, but for like the biggest catch-all, email is the way to go. And the great thing about email is that, tools like MailChimp, we use ConvertKit, extremely cost-effective, sometimes even free for the number of contacts we're talking about for the average church. And you can just send out a plain text email, make it personal, try to talk about only one thing per email. Don't turn it into this overly produced newsletter. You want to make it feel like you're receiving an email from a friend or family member, and it's still one of the best ways to stay connected. It's boring. Heck, you might think it's just for older churches. Like, I can't speak for Churchfront, but like our email list is 75K strong, and it is still the number one way we communicate with the audience of Pro Church Tools. It's still the most responsive, and it's still the most surefire way to communicate when we need to.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. And Churchfront, same exact thing. It's like people, I don't know. I do a lot of online stuff. People are asking me about like, hey, how do I get started doing things online? It's like build an email list, because that's the easiest way to get in contact with folks who are interested in whatever you're doing, whether you're a church or whether you're trying to build an online business or something like that. It's insane how effective it still is today. Because I feel like emails are kind of like, and I don't feel like they're going to go away, because there's such an important identifier for people online. Like all your accounts you have set up, even with these social accounts, it all has to use an email address. Like that's how, that's why your email needs to be so secure. But awesome. Great. I think we're getting some of the great pieces of infrastructure put in place here. Let me pull up my list of questions here. Okay. So yeah, the next one was social platforms. So where should churches be focusing most of their attention right now to stay in touch with the most people at their church? And assuming, let's just talk about like churches in North America right now.
Sure. So number one is Facebook. Number two is Instagram. Number three is TikTok. We'll go in order. Number one, Facebook. It's still the one that has the most people on the platform. If your church skews older, you're almost certainly going to see the most activity on Facebook. Instagram, if your church is kind of like 25 to 45, that's probably going to be where you're going to see the most people. And then if you're 25 and under, if you have a student ministry, if you have a youth group, if you care at all about reaching the next generation, Jake hates it, but TikTok is just, it's
I'm the reason
off, it's having a moment.
I'm the reason you are a TikTok expert now, bro.
You can go back. I don't know how you'd find these comments, but About 12 months ago, Jake's leaving
Yeah.
comments on Pro Church Tools videos, being like, bring on the TikTok content. And I'm like, this troll, this guy. And then here I am, I got like 10 TikTok videos published, and the prophetic word of Jake Goslin has come to fruition.
Yep. I'll be that prophetic voice for you, man.
I appreciate it. We all need these people in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you sign up for an account, obviously, if you haven't already. Hopefully your church has an account with these platforms. But like, which one, like, how do you use them effectively? Because you can sign up for an account, but like, what's going to be the content that you're going to be sharing there? And that's actually kind of, maybe that was more like towards later in our conversation, but we can dive into this now because I feel like, getting on a social platform is easy, but knowing what exactly are you supposed to put out there as a church, like, that's going to be effective to get that's going to engage with your congregation. It's going to communicate things clearly to them. Where do you even start? Like, especially if you want to get beyond like, hey, here's our Sunday morning worship live stream, or even right now people are doing church online live streams, and beyond posting content like that, just taking a worship experience and sharing it. What are other things that pastors, church leaders should be doing right now with their social platforms?
So the paradigm shift that we all need to make is to aim to use these social platforms for the purpose of ministry, for ministry, and not to promote ministry. And there's no better time than to explore that than currently, because we don't have too many, really any, in-person gatherings to promote. Because that's how most churches use social platforms. They'll use it to basically as a billboard to promote what's upcoming in the service, to promote what's upcoming with in-person gatherings, which is a really weird way of using social, because it's like going to where someone is, them asking you a question, and then you saying, well, we'll talk about that question in 3 days when we meet somewhere else. It's like, well, we're here right now. Can't we do that now? So if you think about your church's mission, and we all say it differently, but at the end of the day, it's to help people love God, love others, make disciples. If that's our mission, how can we accomplish that mission on social platforms? One of the thought exercises that we've been walking churches through for several years is, what would you post online if your Sunday service didn't exist? And as you can imagine, I've been getting a ton of DMs from folks over the last couple of weeks being like, hey, now our Sunday services don't exist. Thanks for preparing us for this moment. And for those of us that haven't prepared, it takes this paradigm shift to think, okay, we want people to improve their biblical literacy. We want people to pray. We want to engage community and create conversation and connections from person to person. We can do that with our in-person gatherings, which are often more substantive, not trying to discount them whatsoever. But we can also do that on social platforms, especially considering we spend a great more deal of time on social platforms than we do at in-person gatherings. So let's talk about a couple of different archetypes to consider. One would be the irresistible question post. So especially now in this time of social distancing, but we've been teaching this type of post for many, many different months. One of the easiest ways to see engagement on social boost and to generate real conversation is to ask irresistible questions. This works on Instagram, especially with stories, works great on Facebook. And the irresistible question can be something that's a little bit fun, a little bit pseudo-controversial, very specific, or it can be more spiritual in nature. So if you go to prochurchtools.com/questions, we have a Google Doc, 39 questions you can copy and paste, start using them right away. So simple. Copy the question, paste it into Facebook, choose a colored background that Facebook provides you so you don't have to do any fancy graphic design, and then you can just post that question. So here's an example one. So, a church sent this in to me just yesterday, and they were like, we asked this question because of quarantine, and like we got 130 comments, and the question was as simple as, no, you got it right. That one's an opt-in. You have to put in the opt-in. I'll give you the link, and then you can post it in the description so people don't have to opt in. It's a Google Doc. It's like a really long one.
No, I want them to opt in. They need to be on your email list.
I'm trying here, Churchfront. You see, I'm trying here. So here, I'll give you a couple for free anyway. So one of them that has been blowing up for churches this week is true or false, oatmeal raisin is the best cookie. So this pastor asked this. He got 130 comments. People are losing their minds. So what makes a question post irresistible? One, it needs to be specific. So the more ambiguity, subjectivity in your question, the less likely you're going to get engagement. So you could say, what's the best cookie? which is a fine question, and you'll get engagement. If you say true or false, oatmeal raisin is the best cookie, people need to respond. They need to right the wrong. Number 2, it needs to be specific. Number 2, it needs to be easy to add your opinion. So you want to make it feel like people want to talk about it, right? But you don't want it to be like politics or something that's going to be super controversial, because that's not what you want this for. And then
you mean
3,
you shouldn't make a post like, "Do you like Trump?"
True or false? Donald Trump has made America great again. I mean, you could. I would suggest you don't. It's not the type of engagement you want on your social platforms. So church has been seeing amazing engagement with that. And you might be asking, okay, Brady, why are we like talking about cookies on our social platforms? Like, is that what churches are meant to be doing? And if you just look at the programming that our churches do all the time, like, we have this diverse tapestry of life experience that our churches engage in, and I want to be experiencing all of it with my faith community. So, like, why do we take our student ministries like snow tubing? Why do some of our churches have gymnasiums? Why do small groups go bowling? Why do our pastors use illustrations and stories in their messages that have nothing to do with the Bible or faith, because they're setups for something coming down the road? If all you did was post questions like this, that would probably be not good. But if you never include fun content like this, you're leaving so much on the table when it comes to social. And we think that you should include spiritual questions as well. So that first one on the list, what's a worship song that's helped you feel closer to God? One of our favorites. Works so well for churches. What's a favorite memory verse, Bible verse number 4 that you've returned to in times when you need it most? An excellent one. So irresistible questions don't always have to be non-spiritual in nature or spiritual in nature. We would recommend a mix of both. That's when you're going to see the most engagement. And, there's a couple reasons why this is important when we're talking about a grand social media strategy. When you can get a post that has 130 comments because you asked a silly question about oatmeal raisin, and we all have our opinions about food. Let's not pretend we don't, Jake. Canadian bacon, woo. So we don't even call it that here, It's called pea meal bacon in Canada. Learn something new every day. If we're able to get posts that have this huge engagement, the next post that you publish, maybe it's a bit more spiritual in nature, you're more likely to get a greater organic reach on that post because you've signaled to the algorithm with your other content that you are the type of page that people like to engage with. So the idea here is to reach deep and wide with our social content. If all we're doing is reaching wide, then we just become a meme account, which is great if you're a meme account, but you probably don't have too much substance or depth, which for our churches we don't want. But if all you do is reach deep, you're probably not reaching many people at all because you're always going above most people's heads and you're not relatable to the average person. So you need a social content strategy that does both deep and wide. The irresistible question post is one of our favorites. I could go all day with different types of posts, but I don't want to waste anyone's time. So you just let me know.
I think that's a great starting place because you don't have to make any creative content for that. You literally just if you go to this document, folks, you go to the link, you highlight it with your cursor, you press Command C on Mac, and then you go to your Facebook account, press Command V in a post, and there you go. It's I think people will be amazed.
And choose one of the colored backgrounds because they actually perform better than designed posts. You could go into Canva. Don't. It's better when you just paste it in. Sorry to interrupt. My bad.
Yeah, no, because it looks like the janky posts your Aunt May is posting on Facebook, and for some reason that catches our attention. I don't know why, but that's just psychology. Back to what I
said about email. You want it to feel like a personal one-to-one interaction. We want to interact with people. We don't want to interact so much with brands. And so your church account is kind of working, from behind in that respect. And so when you can create content that just looks like family and friends, that's when people tend to engage more.
Here's a good little follow-up question. How about, or maybe not a question, maybe it was just a thought, but when you talked about people want to engage with people, not brands, how important is it, for a senior pastor at a church to strategically use these types of questions, even on their personal Facebook profile, to so that people can, because I know I've experienced that before. I've seen it with other people, and I'm not talking about pages on Facebook. I'm talking about particular people I look up to as leaders in my life and I just want to follow. They post really good content. I mean, it's just text content, or maybe it's just questions like this. And that, they have a lot of traction in terms of engagement on it because of that. So I don't know if you're a pastor, like don't be afraid to just post stuff on your personal page too, because people will
Take all
start
these
following
questions, do the exact same thing from your personal profile, especially now because you're not going to get to interact with people in the same way in person. So if you haven't done this before, now would be a great time to start.
Yep. Cool, man. Well, we could get all day. We could go all day into, like other aspects of like content for camera gear. Why don't we just take all day and go into this?
Let's do it.
But okay, because let's say like pastors. You want to make maybe if you want to make videos or images, all of us have smartphones that can capture high quality video and take some good pictures, share on Facebook, Instagram. But if for churches who are trying to up their game a little bit, like where are the best places to look for kind of good, like kind of prosumer camera gear to be able to capture the best? I don't know, not the best because we're not like paying for high end cinema cameras, but just good stuff that like is gonna look great when they post it online. Like, so what's your kind of go to beginner camera gear setup? And maybe just pick one of them. If there's variations out there, like just go with one.
Sure. I mean, the camera that we've been using the most for social media content and basically for anything that isn't live production is the Canon EOS R. There is a sequel almost certainly coming out this year, the Canon EOS R5. So depending on when you're watching this, that might be already out. It has been confirmed. Release date still a moving target, which means this camera that I'm recommending now, which is awesome, might be even lower in price. It's going to be about, $1,500, $1,800 for the actual camera body. And this camera cannot do a single thing better than any other camera. It can just do everything really, really well. So it's not the best for slow motion. The 4K is, it's not going to be 10
It's cropped,
in
isn't
the
it?
camera. No, it's not cropped. This is a full frame 4K camera, which is one of the reasons why I love it. It is cropped when you get to slow motion, but it can do... Oh, sorry, no, pardon me. The 4K is cropped. It's 1080 full frame. I take that all back. Everyone's watching this and they were like, what does this guy know about cameras? He doesn't even know about the crop, the windowed mode. Sorry,
dude, I'm still
commenters.
because I'm still sporting my GH5s, man. I mean, it like you said,
I shot GH5 for a long time too, and there's something just about this EOS R where it's like, the specs of the GH5 are going to trump this EOS R easily. And yet the shooting experience when it comes to the autofocus and the colors out of the camera body, it's like there's so much nuance in camera conversations, which is why we all love to watch videos about them.
Yep.
The colors of a Panasonic GH5 can be just as good as a Canon EOS R. The whole like Canon's color science is the superior, is the best. Like all cameras can look amazing now. But you probably have to work a little bit more with a GH5 and maybe some custom color profiles and maybe a bit more grading than with the EOS R, where you can basically just point and shoot and it's going to look so good every time. And that's why we've been using it for social and using it for vlogging and using it on the go, because when we're not in our studio with a controlled environment, the EOS R just outperforms everything because it is so much more forgiving.
What's the scoop with this EOS R5? I see 8K video. What else is better about it?
There's a lot of rumors. Canon has, as of this recording, confirmed 8K video and
in-body image stabilization.
Yes,
is
the
that new?
in-body. Yes, the IBIS. Yes, the in-body image stabilization. So right now on the EOS R, not the one we're looking at right now, the sequel, on the EOS R, there's no in-body image stabilization, which is super important for this type of camera. But all of Canon's RF lenses do have stabilization on the lens. So we shoot with a Canon RF 15-35 f2.8 as our main lens on the EOS R. It has excellent stabilization, so we don't miss it in the camera body. The R5, it's going to have in-body stabilization and stabilization on the camera lenses made for this camera. And the idea is that they're actually going to be able to work in tandem to create some type of super stabilization. We'll see what that looks like. Feels so stable right now with just what we have on the lens IS. We'll see what the IBIS plus IS equals.
You'll be able to just like shake the camera. And
honestly,
it just will look smooth the whole time.
Gimbals
like
are a thing of the past. They almost are already. This will be like, exactly. Who needs a drone? Just throw your camera.
This might be the new Churchfront Mission Lakewood rig I look into because, dude, I don't know. I like how you said the Canon EOS R because this is it. Do you see my screen right now? This is the B&H photo has a listing for.
I can see.
the R5. So I mean, everything you look, I mean, this looks like this is happening. Everything about this
it's
camera.
definitely happening. And
Okay.
the 8K has been confirmed. The IBIS has been confirmed. They have this new autofocus. It's called animal autofocus because it can literally autofocus on like moving birds as they fly. So Canon's already, best in class autofocus is getting better. And then there are some things that we're not sure about. Like, what about frame rates? Is that 8K a crop? So, that these parts of the rumors, it's like maybe they're confirmed, maybe they're not. There are rumors of 4K up to 120 frames per second. The EOS R can only do 720 on 120 frames, which is, it's still good because Canon's color science is so good and like it's not super compressed. I really like the compression of this camera, which is one of those things that like we don't think about too often, but contributes so greatly to the overall quality of your footage.
Yep. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see this and look into it more. I went through a phase where I would spend so many hours on YouTube looking at camera reviews and like I would waste like 3 hours and then I would like think I was gonna buy it and then I'm like, oh, there's some dumb feature that like this is a deal breaker for me. I'm gonna stick with my GH5. Like that's just every time. A Canon camera, Blackmagic cameras. There's just something about them that's always a deal breaker for me. So I don't know. The GH5 is still king of my camera rigs here at Churchfront and at Mission Lakewood. But I'm definitely gonna check that out. What about like audio? Do you just put like a little shotgun mic on top of your cameras? Do you use a lav mic? What kind of audio capture do you use?
I really don't like lavs. I just don't like how they look. I hate like recording and then you just see it. It's like if you're gonna show a mic, do what you do. Like we use the SM57s when we're podcasting. It's like if you're gonna show a mic, show it. Like I bet no one sees this. No, we all see it. Okay.
Look at my mic.
Exactly. We love
here.
the 57. For our YouTube videos, we're using an Audio-Technica AT8035, which is a $300 shotgun mic, and we've been using it forever. Like we really like it. We record into 8035. We record into a Sound Devices 702, but you can use any type of like Zoom, the Tascam DR60D Mark III, I think is out now or something. Those are all really good. Audio is so important, more important than how your videos look when it comes to contributing to the overall quality. And then we use a Rode mics on the camera. We looked into the Deity, but I mean,
I've been using the Deity. Works good. It's more. I think it's just more appropriate for churches. Deity, get it?
No, I get it. Yep.
That was a perfect, not funny joke response right there. But seriously, I can't remember what the price difference was, but I don't know. Sean Cannell said, "Hey, check out this Deity mic," and I bought it. I don't even ask questions.
If Sean says it, we trust Sean.
Yep. Speaking of Sean Cannell, guys, if you want help with like videos, how to shoot videos for online, Think Media is his channel on YouTube. You could spend like 2 days watching all of his videos and pretty much come out the other end like you probably knowing more than a college grad of film school knows about making videos. But actually, maybe there's someone listening who went to film school. I'm joking. They won't know as much about cinematography history as you or something like that. But definitely check it out. Yeah, man. I mean, so those shotgun mics are great. Here's the thing, though. I like the for these little lav mics because we've been doing. Our pastor has been preaching his sermons like in different locations, and sometimes it just doesn't suit well to have like a the camera can't be close enough, or you can't have a shotgun mic over him. So we've been using this Tascam DR10L. This is like this little $200 lav mic records locally onto the body pack, so you don't have to have wireless stuff. Like I used to use it for like a lot of wedding shoots and stuff when I mic'd like groomsmen and stuff. But like this, it records locally, no wireless stuff, and I cannot believe how good this lav mic sounds. Better than my Sennheiser wireless system, all that stuff. So if you guys are looking for a really good lav mic setup, definitely use this because then you can pop it on your pastor, press record. He can walk wherever he wants. You can get some cool angles like what we're doing. You can check out Mission Lakewood's YouTube channel to see kind of the example of the sermon videos I'm talking about. But you just don't have to worry about proximity with a microphone because he can just wear it, and it's pretty discreet. But yeah, you're gonna see a little lav mic. But then you just sync the audio up in post. If you use Final Cut, iMovie, or whatever, and you have a great little multicam setup going on there.
What's the battery life on a thing like that?
Incredible. Like you could it's like one AAA battery, and like you could use that one AAA battery probably for 6 to 8 hours straight recording and be fine.
You think you could like, would that be a reasonable like vlog setup where you have like 3 people all wearing one, and then instead of recording on the on camera? I mean, I don't know how you if it's always recording, it'd be hard to sync, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to use a massive multicam afterwards. But I think when we do vlog stuff, we're always just doing whatever on camera audio we can capture. That's for sure. Way easier that way. But cool, man. So we really covered some basics for gear, for whether it's cameras, whether that's audio. We talked about content ideas. I really like the whole paradigm shift of like, you're not posting content online to promote ministry. Like, you're posting content to be ministry. And the truths of the gospel and how we're trying to disciple people, that can happen through text, through audio, through video, online. And we just got to start thinking creatively. Like, little churches got to start thinking like they're little media outlets for their congregation, basically, and be like, let's create stuff that's maybe, fun or entertaining, like those questions. Let's create stuff that's like going to promote spiritual practices. Let's create stuff that's going to be educational about Bible or theology. Like, we live in the most exciting time to be the church and to have an easy ways to communicate these truths to our congregation and people even beyond our congregation. So, dude, thanks so much for these great paradigm shifts. And, we've been chatting for a while, but I feel like in this, 50 minutes of talking, folks are going to have so much clarity on like where to find good tools, like what platforms they should be on, and then practical advice to actually put it all into place. So where's the best place for folks to go to make sure they stay up to date with you, and then also to try out these tools that we talked about with Nucleus?
Sure. So at Brady Shearer on Twitter and Instagram. That's SHEARER. A shearer, one who shears. One who shears sheep. It's in the Bible, people.
Dude, can I interrupt you? What's the deal with Twitter? Like, people still use that besides Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
Yeah, so I don't recommend churches use Twitter.
Yeah.
You have been a notorious, infamous hater of Twitter for years. So I don't expect to change your mind. But Twitter, for me, is my favorite personal platform. Why? Because I love sports. And so it's like
sports.
And so much of what I love is like live, and so Twitter's the best platform for that. And if you want to get in touch with me personally, because it's my favorite personal platform, your best bet is going to be on Twitter or Instagram. I try my best to be active in the DMs on Instagram, respond to as many people as I can. And then when it comes to our products, we have a 30-day free trial on all of them. No credit card required. All we need is an email and a password from you. So if you can see, enter your email there, just put it in and you'll get a free trial. And that means you can spend, go ahead.
And just to be clear, the pricing we talked about earlier, like that applies if you do let's say you do the monthly plan and it's $125 a month, like you're getting all the web tools, like including the website builder, the giving, RebelGive, that all comes with it. Okay, that's separate. Okay, that is a separate thing. Okay. But you get the website builder with like the sermon engine and all that stuff. Okay. And that just being clear. And then there's like the social stuff too. The
new social post every single day, After Effects file that comes with it, Photoshop file that comes with it, pre-written caption.
Okay.
And then unlimited stock footage. And there's like 25,000 4K clips in there.
Wow.
It's a lot of clips.
That's insane. And then RebelGive is, what's the price point on that?
It's $79 a month or $99 a month.
Wow. So
and we should say with both of these platforms, we are quite liberal with giving out scholarships because we recognize that like not every church can afford pretty much anything. And so, there it is. Look, are you a small church? Look at that. See, look, you just landed on a year and you got a scholarship, Jake. Look how easy that was for you.
Yeah, I'm a small church.
If you are a smaller church, we want to work with you to make sure you can get access to our products. We're a bootstrapped company. There's no investors that are calling for my head to increase profitability to extreme amounts. We don't need to make $1,200 off of every single church every month, and we don't even close to that. We're always willing to work with you to make it more affordable. And you get that 30-day free trial. You can download 30 free 4K clips, download 30 social media posts, spend 30 days building out your sermon engine and your website, and you can get started with RebelGive for free as well and build out a giving flow, see what it's all about in the back end, check out the administrative tools.
Yep. Awesome, man.
Oh, and then YouTube, subscribe. Because look, there was once a day where I had more subscribers than Jake. Will that happen again? No. How can I compete with a worship channel? No one cares about social. They all want to learn how to sound good with their Strymon guitar pedals. So,
Dude, I don't make any. I have like 2 guitar related videos, bro.
That's true.
This is not a. Those just sound like excuses to me, man.
No, absolutely, definitely, absolute excuses. So what I'm saying is, like, give me a pity subscribe, because that's all I can do. You know, once upon a time, I was out here putting Jake on. Now I'm the small timer. He's gonna get the plaque before me.
The plaque. It's so funny how
here for the plaque.
It's funny how small the plaque is too. It's just like.
Oh, is it really small?
Yeah, I saw. I was hanging out with Brian Wall, worship tutorials. That's an example of major worship channel, because there's a lot. Well, he does great content, but it's a lot of music content people search for, right? So he's like a
SEO.
he's like a 600,000 subscribers. And I got to his studio and I saw the plaque and I'm like, oh. It's like smaller than I thought it would be. What am I doing with my life?
It's kind of disappointing, actually.
No, guys, go subscribe. Go slap that subscribe button on Pro Church Tools with Brady Shearer. He's an easy guy to find. And then once you find him, he's just gonna follow you around everywhere with his content. So he'll be impossible to avoid. But it's good stuff. It's really gonna help you grow. Maybe you can clear the cookies on your browser or something. That might help.
Go incognito.
But thanks so much, man. Hopefully we'll get up there. Eventually to hang out and collab in person again. But thanks for your insight and keep it up, bro.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. You're the best.